straight up to Rudy the Bang and Rudy and Pete. Now what you hear is not a test song rapping to the beat. Meet the groom and my friends are going to try and move their feet. Now I am one of mine and I'd like to say hello.
There are a handful of artists that can do what Mac Miller does, breaking the barrier of what it means to be a normal celebrity and bridging the gap, becoming an almost friend-like figure to a lot of people. But just as soon as you got to know who he was tragically taken off this earth. This is a story of Mac Miller and how he touched so many lives in such a painfully short amount of time.
How did you get into this? How did you get into this culture?
I just be like, fuck you, what you need, you can't get nothing from me. You was talking shit, now I'm somebody you would love to be. I'ma do my thing until the day the reaper come for me. You can keep on grilling, I'ma smile back, smile back. Call your army, bring your tanks. I'm a big boy with a big boy bank. Self-employed, independent, once you start, don't take no breaks. Work until I get it, I bet it's gonna take a second. But once I start up my engine, I'm gone, too fast to catch him.
On January 19th, 1992, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Malcolm James McCormick was a gift to the pair of Karen and Mark. His mother was a photographer and his father was an architect. Mac was in a house that invoked creativity from the start, hence why he went down the path of artistry. Mac grew up in the affluent neighborhood of Point Breeze. They had a nice life. Mac's love for music blossomed at a very young age. By the age of 6, he already taught himself how to play any instrument he could get his hands on. While heading into his high school years, McCormick's love for music continued, but it was engulfed by rap. Mac's earliest influences would consist of rappers to the likes of the Sugar Hill Gang, A Tribe Called Quest, Outkast, Lauryn Hill, and the Beastie Boys, amongst others. This love for music would soon turn into a passion and be something he wanted to continue seriously. All he cared about was writing down rhymes and getting better at his craft each day. At this point, school was an afterthought. When Mac turned 15, he released his first mixtape under the name Easy Mac with the Cheesy Raps, and called it But My Mackin' Ain't Cheesy. This was in 2007, and that didn't go over so great, but it still got his name out there. Over the next 2 years, Mac Miller, as he was now going by, would drop 2 more mixtapes, which got him attention from record deals and a sustainable fan base. And just another year later, Mac would stay true to his local loyalty and sign with the Pittsburgh-based record label, Rostrum Records. Off the heels of the recent signee, Mac would release Kids, which was incredibly fun. Many loved this album, specifically the audience it was catered to, high school and college kids, which led to Mac being stamped as a frat rapper. Regardless of the label, Mac had made fun tunes and people enjoyed it. Although this album was the same reason critics disliked Mac. They thought it was immature and not a lot of substance in the music itself. But Mac, with his relentless work ethic, would come with another mixtape, Best Day Ever, which had his most popular song up to this point, Donald Trump. This song gained over 20 million views in just 2 months. In a time where YouTube wasn't as big of an asset as it is today to promote yourself, this was an impressive feat.
Look at all this money, ain't that some shit? Take over the world when I'm on my Donald Trump shit. Look at all this money, ain't that some shit? We gon' take over.
This song would also end up being his first song to crack the Billboard 200, and then it would go on to become certified platinum 2 years after its release. With Mac creating a big catalog of mixtapes already, it made sense why his next album would be anticipated, and it was. In November of 2011, Mac would drop his debut studio album, Blue Slide Park.
Blue Slide Park, the album as a whole, it's kind of like, it's a journey, you know, like that's the thing, is it's like, from the beginning, you know, it's like you walk up to the park, you know, and it's like you, almost like you get what you see, you know, it's a park. But as you get into the album, it's like you kind of walking through, and it gets deeper, and it takes you places you didn't expect to go. And as you're traveling through, things just kind of like everything opens up, and you start discovering things about yourself that you didn't even think you could. And so it's basically like Blue Slide Park is like kind of like, you know, life, you go crazy in life, you go out and become a big business mogul, you go out and do all this stuff in your life, and you come home and there's still the same park right there, and they could add jungle gyms, they could add whatever they add to the park to renovate and make it new, but like the slide's still gonna be blue, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of just like an ode to like, you know, really not only being truthful about where I came from and being honest about it, but loving it, you know what I'm saying? And loving the place I was raised in.
This album had mixed reviews to say the least. On one hand, this was groundbreaking success for Mac, being the first independently distributed album to top Billboard in 16 years, not to mention with no features at all.
And I'm not really sure why, but this kid seems to have a ton of fans, but a lot of haters. People hate this kid.
But critics were relentless, just tearing Mac apart, with Pitchfork giving it a 1 out of 10, saying, quote, "The Pittsburgh rapper is mostly just crushingly bland and intolerable version of Wiz Khalifa," as well as other critics tearing him up. But Mac didn't back down. With all the backlash, he didn't go into his shell and hide. But he listened to the critics, and most importantly, he listened to himself.
I wanted to really just make songs and really not just make songs that would work for everyone, but make songs that are really about me and where I and what I'm about. You know, I always wanna showcase that I have lyrical ability while being able to cross over not into mainstream, that whack ass word, but into just making music, and that will really like change the world.
What came next was Macadelic. This gave us hints of what's to come as well as what we heard on Blue Slide. It was a project that struggled to find the bridge between the Mac that people knew and the one he was evolving into. Prime examples of that would be the feature list of Juicy J, Cameron, and Lil Wayne. Granted, these songs are good, but it just doesn't flow cohesively as an album. But then there was the other side with songs like Thoughts from a Balcony and Fight the Feeling that created these introspective, deeper meanings to songs that we never really heard from Mac before, showing that he has substance in his music and that he is deeper than what people had initially saw.
Let me get a one-way ticket. I haven't picked a destination. I'm just trying to catch a train before it has to leave the station. Packing no bags, nothing but the clothes on my back.
In 2012, Mac decided to look inward, digging deeper to find himself and mature with his sound. But the further he went down this rabbit hole, the harder he was on himself. And this is where I believe his struggles with depression and substance abuse had really started. What emerged from this, however, was watching movies with the sound off. This was recorded in Pittsburgh, but halfway through the recording, he moved to LA. This played a huge change in Mac's sound, creating a home studio which he named The Sanctuary. This was a place of creativity with a revolving door policy for artists. Many would take him up on this offer. That's where his relationships with many artists had come about.
In my mind, it is very iconic and it is very legendary, that room, the Red Room. So the Sanctuary is like the most important thing that ever happened to me. I think it was just so much space I had. This studio that everyone was welcome to come through, but 24/7, you know, it was me up for like 4 days in a row in like a weird state of mind, just like in a studio working.
After its release, however, Mac gained positive feedback from those same critics that were hating a few years before. It really does show that Mac cares deeply about his music, with complex beats and more challenging lyrics. Mac invites us into his world, a side that we haven't really seen before.
I think each album should capture a place in time, you know, and this just captures a different place in time. You know, the music on there is different, you know, but as every album should have different music on it. You know, nothing should repeat itself, I think. So for me, I'm just trying to challenge myself to do something new. This one to me is more about longevity and lasting, and the music just kind of doing this, whatever that means.
This album also includes big names on the feature list and in production, to the likes of Pharrell, The Alchemist, Tyler, and on the feature list he's got Schoolboy Q, Ab-Soul, Action Bronson, and all of those just make the album flow cohesively together. It felt like he found some sort of footing on this. It was a risk to divert from his original sound, but one that would pay off tremendously, proving that he is an artist to take seriously and one that can challenge the listener for the better. In between the changes from Pittsburgh to LA and his Sanctuary, Mac would come with his highly acclaimed mixtape, Faces. This mixtape would have a huge effect on people and on his career. Mac created a dark and deeply personal LP. He opened up on his constant struggles with drug use and depression, hinting at those topics multiple times throughout this. Going further as an artist too, with jazzy samples throughout the length of the runtime. Diablo does this beautifully beautifully, sampling a Duke Ellington masterpiece, creating this dreamy, bouncy beat that Mac effortlessly glides on.
Follow me, I can show you where we bees at. How'd I get my G-Pass? None of your fucking beeswax. These raps bring a joint together like a kneecap.
He wasn't trying to hide anything. He was being open and honest with us, but most importantly, to himself. Faces opens us into what Mac was dealing with, and it's apparent he was struggling. Tweeting in 2017, he wasn't on this earth when he made Faces. It was clear he knew he couldn't keep up with his current lifestyle and needed to change. At the climax of his breaking point, Mac reached out to the best mentor he could have gotten. Mac moved to live by Rick Rubin for about a month to help the kid through the struggles he was facing while making Faces. With a newfound appreciation for life, a clearer mind, and a year-long break, Mac would come with his third studio album, Good AM. In between these life changes would also come a change with his record label. His longtime label, Rostrum, was expiring, and Mac would sign with the highly touted Warner Brothers Records. His new album with Warner Bros. Was Good AM, released in 2015. This was a metaphor, a new life for Mac, a breath of fresh air, him literally waking up.
I think for me, I wanted the album to feel like a breath of fresh air. Just a lot of the music I had done recently was a little darker and sad, depressing, if you will, and I wanted this album to kind of be a departure from that.
You can hear the positive shift in his tone. Although the subject matter is refreshing and joyful, the music itself is quite commercial, with Mac taking a step back in the production. Now that doesn't constitute this as a bad album. Mac just seems to thrive when he has a hand in his own production, making his own art. This album also brings us some of the most heart-wrenching lyrics that Mac has ever written down. Mac, although a drug addict, knows he needs to change his ways before it's too late. The foreshadowing of these lyrics is uncomfortably eerie.
To everyone who sell me drugs, don't mix it with that bullshit. I'm hoping not to join the 27 club. They don't want me to OD and have to talk to my mother, tell her they could have done more to help me, and she'd be crying, saying that she'd do anything to have me back. But white lines be numbing them dark times, the pills that I'm popping, I need to man up. Admit it's a problem, I need to wake up. Before one morning I don't wake up.
All that said though, this was a wonderful blend of Mac's youth days to the sophisticated artist he is now. 2016 was a big year for the rap star. He was almost at the point of being untouchable, changing the narrative of the naysayers and floating on cloud 9. This year also brought us another album, The Divine Feminine. This was Mac in love. It was warm and soulful. Jazzy instrumentals took over the album. It just felt alive. Again, showing the growth of Mac Miller as an artist, showcasing his talents as he creates these beautiful R&B ballads, as well as his structuring of the album into a more cohesive story. This was also around the time Mac and pop star Ariana Grande's relationship went public. Their history spans back to 2012, when they first worked on a cover of Baby It's Cold Outside. Mac went under his alter ego, Larry Fisherman. This soon led to where we are now. The Divine Feminine expresses Mac's love for his new girlfriend. Although most of the songs were written before him and Ariana got into a relationship, she had a huge effect on his life, but also the sound of this album. The Divine Feminine does require a certain feeling or mood to feel the true impact of this, but the talent cannot be undenied. It showcased extreme focus from Mac, as his previous work tended to deviate from a storyline. He earned it, proving he was so much more than a white frat rapper from Pittsburgh. Although this relationship seemed like it was everything Mac wanted, there was a spotlight shunned on them from the beginning. Anytime they went, swarms of paparazzi. Any little thing they did, they were put under a microscope and scrutinized for it. The constant pressure of living a life like that in itself is so taxing. But to do it with someone you truly love is even so much more harder. In May of 2018, the constant pressure and behind the scenes issues became too much, and the pair ultimately parted ways. Mac did not take this well, and just a few days later, Mac would go on a drunk joyride, crashing his Mercedes. He would end up being arrested and sent to prison, making bail that same morning. Maybe this was the wake-up call Mac needed. He would get back to work and just dump all of his emotion and all this pressure and anything under the sun into this project. What came out of that was Swimming. On August 3rd, 2018, Mac would release his 5th studio album, Swimming. Such a beautiful and raw piece of work. It's just Mac on this 13-track record, pouring out all of his emotions in such an introspective way that shows an even deeper side to Mac. Everyone loved this. It was progressive, yet again showing that Mac isn't just stuck in a box as an artist, showing his true artistry. He always strived to change his sound and grow himself. Swimming debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200. Critics called it wistful and extraordinary. Pitchfork, the same outlet that gave Blue Slide Park a 1 out of 10, wrote that it was most engaging when it detailed the simple things. Mac told himself to keep his spirits up. He had come so far. Just as he was getting ready to embark on his tour for his finest album yet.
Hi, David. We arrived to a heavy media and police presence here outside of the Studio City home of rapper Mac Miller. And authorities confirm here a death investigation is underway. Air 7 was over the scene when we saw what we believe to be Miller's body being transported into a coroner's van. We've seen investigators walking in and out of the home, and Variety, among other outlets, is reporting Miller, whose real name is Malcolm James McCormick, age 26, died of an apparent overdose.
Malcolm James McCormick was found dead in his home in Studio City, LA, at just 26 years old. The cause of death was later to be confirmed an accidental overdose. His drugs were ultimately tampered with and laced. Thousands of fans held vigils in his hometown of Pittsburgh, at that same Blue Slide Park, and in Los Angeles. For a moment, it felt like the earth stopped moving. Mac was such a positive light and made a huge impact on so many. Not many artists are capable of being as authentic as Mac was, showing his true colors to the world. And he always strived to be better, not only in his craft, but as a person. Though he was taken too soon, he accomplished so much in his life. But if you take all the accolades and fame out of the picture, Mac did what he loved to do and chased his dream. That right there is the ultimate prize. Mac had been working on an album that would be incongruent with swimming before his passing. This would be Circles, to show two sides of the coin, swimming in circles. On the one hand, you are treading water, and on the other, the current is pulling you back in a constant cycle. Producer John Bryan took on the task of completing the album, although Mac did most of the recording before his death. Eventually, this would come out in January of 2020. This would be the biggest first week sales for Mac and debuted at number 3 on the Billboard. And in 2025, Balloonerism, an album recorded all the way back in 2014, around the same time of Faces, recorded in that famous Sanctuary, was officially released, accompanied by a short animated film. Even now, years after his passing, Mac Miller is still giving us music, still showing us new rooms in a house we thought we knew. His family established the Mac Miller Fund to support youth from underserved communities. His legacy has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for addiction recovery programs and youth arts initiatives. Mac wasn't just an artist, he was a friend, someone you can rely on. He went from being a 15-year-old kid with a dream to becoming one of the most honest and heartfelt voices in music. He left his personality behind in the form of music, showing us each stage of life and of growth. It's a weird feeling knowing that this person that you never met is gone, but it hurts a good amount. But that was Mac. He touched the lives of people and never tried to be someone he wasn't. We love you, Mac. Rest easy, bud.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years, Mac?
Hopefully, doing a lot of different things in entertainment. Maybe have a kid.
You're gonna be bigger than you are now.
Well, I don't need to lie no more. Nowadays, all I do is shine, take a breath and ease my mind. And she don't cry no more. She tell me that I get her high, cause an angel's supposed to fly. And I ain't asking why no more. Oh no, I take it if it's mine, I don't stay.